Through the ear to your dream job. Welcome to EmployPod. This is the podcast that introduces you to companies across various industries, offering insights into their culture, values, and career opportunities. Our goal is to provide you with exciting perspectives and help you find employers that align with your skills, interests, and career aspirations. Ready to uncover your dream job?
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the EmployPod. Today I'm joined by Dr. Björn-Olaf Borth, Country Chair for Germany and Austria, and Jenny Kretschmann, Employer Branding Expert Central Europe from DNB. For those people who are not familiar with DNB, could you give us an introduction of the company and your roles, please?
Yes, sure. Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be with this podcast today. I'm Björn-Olaf Borth, and I've been 15 years with DNB now. As you mentioned, I have two roles. I have a first role as a country chair, so I'm responsible for the German part of the organization of DNB, and I try to coordinate activities of DNB in Germany as best as we can. And in the second role, I'm also executive board member of the DNB SE, which is the largest legal entity in Germany. And there I'm the CFO and the responsible for labor relations.
Yeah, so then I can also introduce myself. My name is Jenny. I left university about 10 years ago, and my professional background is in HR operations. And since about 3.5 years, I'm now with DNV, and I started as an HR advisor for Central Europe in Global Shared Services. 1.5 years ago, I applied for an internal role in employer branding for Central Europe, and with the trust of my managers and also with the support of my colleagues, I got the chance to develop into this role. And yeah, I feel valued about this opportunity, and I'm also really glad to be here today to record this podcast episode.
Thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you for the nice introduction. Could you tell us a little bit more about DNB and the company itself? Maybe your global connections, your German connection. Could you tell us about that, please?
Well, in a nutshell, DNV is an independent insurance and risk management company. And now that might sound abstract at first, but in practice, it means something very tangible. Our engineers, our auditors and surveyors, and our consultants, they are all trusted experts when it comes to some of the world's most complex, most valuable assets. So, for example, think of large commercial ships, think of wind turbines, electricity or gas networks, or even other general industrial facilities. These are all systems that need to be safe and need to be reliable, and our teams of technical experts are there to inspect and assess them, which they do both on site and through detailed desktop analysis. But that's not all. It doesn't stop here. We also support organizations in critical areas like food safety and medical assurance, helping ensure that what people consume and rely on every day meets the highest safety and quality standards. And furthermore, we empower businesses to become more secure and more resilient in today's digital landscape. We offer tailored cybersecurity solutions. And last but not least, as industrial AI continues to evolve, we also help our partners navigate both the risks and the opportunities AI presents safely, with confidence, and in line with their company strategy. Today, we are more than 15,000 people in over 100 countries everywhere in the world, and generating revenues of about 3.5 billion euros. We measure that in NOK, though, the Norwegian kronas. But transferred, it's about 3.5 billion euros. As I mentioned, we are owned by a foundation, which has the same purpose as DNV. So that's perfectly aligned, safeguarding life, property, and the environment. And every profit we make remains within the foundation. So we are really fulfilling our purpose. Our headquarters is near Oslo, in Norway, and we are very proud that we invest also 5% of our revenues every year in R&D. So we are quite R&D strong, and that also results in very interesting projects to stay technically up to date and state of the art, really. In Germany, we are quite a big part of DNV. We have 1,300 people. in 15 locations in total, where Hamburg is the largest one, where we are sitting right now, Burgtürkei in the Hafen city, in the port city, with about 900 people, which is followed then by also quite a strong location in Essen. We are also in Dresden, Augsburg, Berlin, and other locations, as I said, 15 around Germany. Some are quite small, admittedly.
So let's move right into your company and the company's core values.
Yes, let's maybe start with the name, and that gives already a glimpse into what our values are, because DNV is derived from the original Norwegian name, and the V in DNV stands for the Latin word veritas, which means truth. And I think that sends a message. For more than 160 years, DNV has been associated with truth, with trust that our customers have in us, and they can really trust in our integrity. And that's very important, because we operate in an industry which we refer to as the TIC sector. You might heard of that, but TIC means testing, inspection, and certification. And in our case, we are focused on really large industrial assets, really large, gigantic seagoing ships, like the biggest container ships and the biggest gas carriers we have, but also wind turbines, converter platforms for offshore wind, for example, which you find in the North Sea, electric transmission and distribution networks, or steel mills, etc., etc. And that all started with the inspection and classification of cargo ships back in 1864, when we were founded as a classification society. A classification society is basically a very specific role in the maritime industry, because we develop the rules how ships are built, and we see what's working, what is not working. If there are accidents, we develop new rules, we improve the rules, and that has been done over the last 160 years. And so that's what a classification society does. And we basically classify a ship throughout the whole life cycle. It starts with the approval of the new shipbuilding plan. So if a yard submits us a plan, we will approve this plan that it's in principle fit for purpose. And then on the yard, we make sure that all the welding is done properly and that the right machinery is built in. We certify also the engines, we certify the steel which goes in, the navigation system, and all the machinery also needs to be certified that to make sure it's exactly what is planned in the shipbuilding plan. And afterwards, basically, we will check and inspect the ship every year, like a car is inspected every year. So, and that we will do over the course of the next 20 to 30 years of the lifespan of the ship.
So how does those values manifest themselves in the everyday lives of your company, focusing on truth and maybe the other values as well?
Yeah, very good point. We have our purpose, why we exist, is to safeguard life, property, and the environment. And in order to classify ships, we really, which is important to make sure ships are safe when they sail over the oceans. We need people who give truthful testimony of how good the materials, how good the machinery is which goes into these vessels. So that's where we really need highest integrity and truth. And that has been working in the maritime industry very well over the last 160 years. And at some point, we started to apply the same trustful inspection and certification of other assets, which are quite similar, which are wind turbines, for example, or other big assets which you need to install for infrastructure purposes, for example, and you have to make sure they are working well. And you need inspectors who are really giving truthful testimony of how these assets are fit for purpose.
So there is a lot of trust in your employees.
Absolutely. We trust our employees 100%, and our customers can trust our employees 100%. And they know that. They know that this is our biggest value, our biggest competitive edge, that we really need to live integrity every day.
Perfect. So would you say there is, with the value of trust and truth, that employees feel that once they start in the company already? Do you feel that from the start to the end?
Oh, absolutely. They know what the company is all about, be it in the maritime sector, be it in the energy system sector, or in the certification part where we look at management systems or where we look at supply chains. Or even if we work in the shared services area, everyone needs to be fully trusted and reliable, and that's the atmosphere which you feel every day. That's really the essence of our business model and the essence of our operations every day. That people feel that, and it's communicated, of course, among the people, so everyone knows what our purpose is. So safeguarding life, property, and the environment is our purpose, and people get up in the morning to live this purpose, to make sure ships are seaworthy, are safe when they sail at sea, that wind turbines are safe when they operate, and all the other assets we look at are fit for purpose as they should be. And we make sure that's what it is.
So because we were talking about a good and nice environment, translating that environment into corporate culture, what does good corporate culture mean to you personally? And how do you feel it in the company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are definitely several aspects, and I only can name a few right now. So let me start with the aspect of transparency. So it comes also to global and but also local processes when it comes to Germany, for example. So we have a well-defined understanding of how we collaborate at DNV and what is expected from us as an individual and our roles, but also what we can expect from our employer. So let me name the code of conduct or our career model or even our DEI policy, etc. Another aspect for me would be the hybrid or flexible work. So for our office-based roles, for example, it is well established. And I really like this balance, working some days in the office per week and working also some days at home. I could not imagine to only have the one or the other. And when I come to the office, I also see that there are teams which have so-called anchor days, so that the teams have one day in the week where they meet all together in the office to have a team meeting, for example, or even a team lunch. But of course, there are also some roles in the company, like field-based roles, which have a more strict or restricted working times, which it is not possible for them always to be that flexible. But yeah, we also have regulations for them in place so that they have a good work-life balance. Then the next part is the aspect of recognition and feedback. So, for example, we had a colleague appreciation week in the end of February, where roughly 90% of all of our colleagues received a thank you card from their colleagues.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that's really nice, actually. And we also try to celebrate the successes and achievements throughout the year, of course, not only in this particular week. And the last aspect I want to highlight is health management. So DNV really cares for their employees, and there's a really nice statement. It is about nothing is so important that we can't do it safely. And so it's not only about the physical aspects. So, for example, also when it comes to field service roles, of course, when they are operating on a wind turbine or with high voltage, etc., they are they have to adhere to security regulations and should not do multitasking, etc. It is also about mental health. And so, for example, in DNV Germany, we have an employee assistance program.
And working for such a big and impactful company, how would you describe the general working atmosphere in the company?
The general working atmosphere is very active, very collaborative, very cross-functional, cross-discipline, cross-country organization, because we have so many very specialized experts everywhere in the world that for a specific project, we sometimes really not only need the colleague next to me, but colleagues from the Netherlands, from Norway, from Poland, in other disciplines than myself. So we really rely on good collaboration, on openness, and of course, in being fully transparent what we know and what we don't know. We have to brutally open when it comes to what we know and what we don't know, what's right, and when we make mistakes. And there's no lying, there's no cheating, there's no cover up. We have to be honest, and that requires a lot of mutual trust actually between the employees. And usually we get along very, very well with colleagues we've never seen before if we meet them from other locations. I find this as a great experience, that if I meet people from other locations, from Singapore, from the US, from Norway, it's always the same kind of internal codes that we can get along with each other very well. That's a very good experience, I think.
Because you touched so much on cooperation and cooperating with your international branches as well, what role do diversity and inclusion play in the everyday working life?
Definitely a big role. So let me just start with some facts and come to a little bit more detailed at the end of my response. So globally, we are about 125 nationalities, and in Germany, we have about 60 different nationalities working with us. So we have quite a big share of internationals, about 20%, and really a high and big range of seniority levels with us, starting with students working with us, graduates, professionals, but also up to seniors who are with DNV for maybe 30 years or even 40
Wow.
years of experience. And I just recently saw, for example, a post from Business Assurance where they celebrated jubilees of 3 colleagues who have at least 25 years of experiences. So that was really, really nice also to see.
Could you tell us a little bit more about diversity?
Yeah, of course. So we see diversity as our strength in the company. And of course, also fostering diversity and inclusion is our ethical choice and definitely also business decision. D&I is in everything we do every day. And we interact with and also value our colleagues, collaborate and deliver our complex services to customers. Yeah, and we also expect from everyone at DNV to play their part in creating an inclusive culture.
Dr. Borth, could you tell us a little bit more about diversity as well?
Yes, actually, I think it would be interesting to add that our demography within DNV, and especially also in DNV Germany, is changing. Because if we look at who we are today, I find it really amazing that, of course, still 85% of our colleagues are German nationals, or at least have also their German nationality, maybe a second one. But also there are 57 other nationalities represented in the remaining 15%. So we have people from everywhere in the world. And if we look at the new hires we have today, the new hires over the last 3 years, which are younger than 30. So we look at them and we see that there's only 1/3 which are German nationals, and the rest are talents from everywhere around the world. Many of them have been studying in Germany. And we think that it's really a wonderful experience to have this broad variety, diversity of cultures, backgrounds, experiences within the company. And you can feel it, and really motivating to everyone in the company to have this diverse set of people being part of DNV in Germany. So we really find that wonderful.
Because you talked about there being a lot of new younger people as well, what development opportunities are there in the company?
We have multiple development opportunities in the company. Of course, the most important one is that you develop in your job every day. And we also call it the 70-20-10 training split. So 70% of your learning is really on the job. Then there's, of course, formalized trainings. There are programs. There's a lot more. But learning on the job is really the most important. And multidimensional career development opportunities are given and highly encouraged also, and international development opportunities. So going abroad for a certain period of time, that's always very much appreciated. Taking new roles, also if maybe formally that would not by everyone considered the next career step, but it could be perceived as a side step. But in terms of experience, in terms of function, it might be something new, and that is so really supported by our salary model. We have a salary grade model. On this basis, you are paid, and you are basically you keep your salary no matter what job you take. So we want to encourage people taking new development opportunities rather than always looking at the next hierarchy level to go to. We really are a company which values experience and encourages people to take experience development opportunities rather than only looking at, let's say, the next hierarchical career step in the pyramid. That's not really what's most important for us.
Something I found really interesting earlier on was the 70-20-10. What was that exactly? Could you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, sure. Thanks. That's the core of our learning philosophy. So we think 70% of your learning comes from really hands-on experience. When you are working on your projects, you are experimenting, you're stretching yourself, you're reflecting on your success, and that's when you learn. You raise your profile from the works you do in leading projects or becoming a subject matter expert. 20% comes from collaborating, when you benefit from the relationship with others in the company. So, I mean, that happens also naturally. You seek out to others, you ask for feedback, you might have a mentor, you might work alongside someone who has further developed skills or a lot of experience, might be your manager. So that also happens in a structured way, but comes natural. And then there's a 10% where you have formal training. So you are part of a specific journey, a specific leadership program, a specific skill building program. So that's kind of the philosophy how we want to balance your development experiences in this 70-20-10 approach. And we make sure that happens. Everyone gets an individual development plan, which they discuss with their line manager every year. And it's very important. It's also being discussed throughout the year to make sure everyone has this development plan and roughly should follow this 70-20-10 approach.
I also want to fill in to Bob's response that fits perfectly to the multiple ways how you can build a career at DNV. So when we look back to the 10% of having formal training, we have a holistic and also structured approach globally. So there are, for example, options for early careers. So when you really are just have graduated, there are some programs like the Next Generation Summit or the Future Impact. You can have a training and or also develop yourself in. But you can also go for an expert journey at DNV and also develop your skills to support your field of expertise. And last but not least, of course, also for leaders, if you are new to being a leader, or if you want to become a leader, or if you are already a line manager for several years, you get more training and more experience through the training in that sense.
So this is also how you support your employees with their long-term career goals, right?
Definitely. So when it comes to the long-term career goals, we also encourage to have a look at the individual development plan every year with your line manager. So this is part of our managing individual performance process we have also created in globally.
Earlier, you said something about future impact. Is that one of the training programs you offer for young talents, and are there any other?
Yeah, future impact actually is something for young talents, for colleagues who came to us quite recently, but it can also be that they already had a little bit of job experience in other companies before and they want to find their niche and really thrive. But when it comes to our young talents, we offer them several options. So students, for example, could come to us and work as a working student, which is called in German a Werkstudent. They can also do an internship or maybe write their thesis with us if we have a match for that. Currently, we have about 70 students working with us in Germany. And as Bob also recently mentioned, also within the groups of students, we have about 2/3 internationals working with us. And just recently, we also started to establish a student network, which means that this group aims to create a supportive network for our students at DNV and to enhance their experience through engagement and resources, and of course also to connect to other students.
How would you say does the company benefit from working with those students?
Yeah, I think actually, Jenny, I like that you mentioned this new student network because I think both parties benefit, both the students benefit, but also the company benefits from it because we get a fresh perspective sometimes from the students and also motivation to our teams when they see that the knowledge we have gathered and collected over time is really appreciated by the young students. On the other hand, we get sometimes also tips and tricks on how to use digital tools more effectively, more efficiently. So there's really a win-win situation and learning from both sides. Our aim is, of course, to build long-term relationships with the students. And we have many of them who started as students and have been with us for now 30 years.
Wow.
Once students know what DNV is all about and have worked with us, many of them would like to pursue a career with us after their graduation. So for us, that's the perfect way of introducing ourselves to the students and the other way around. So I think it's really a benefit for both sides.
And what prospects do these graduates have after completing their studies with you?
As Bob mentioned already, there are several success stories from the shift from being a student to a permanent employee. I also had a look into our statistics about that. And since 2022, we had, for example, about 20 students who have been rehired as permanent employees here in Germany. So I think at this stage, you see that this is really a door opener starting as a student.
Because we're talking about openings right now, what benefits or perks do you offer new employees or old employees as well?
Yeah, definitely all employees. And they are a little bit there's a little difference between students and full-time employees, but I come to that point as well. So let me start with the profit share. We have some business areas also have a sales scheme, but I want to focus on the profit share today. This is a variable pay and in a global orientation. This profit share aims to share the profit between DNV and the employees and appreciate the efforts of our employees and is one element of our total compensation approach. And for example, I also like that even when employees go on maternity or even parental leave, that they are still entitled to this profit share. Then a next aspect for us is, of course, the pension scheme. At DNV Germany, we have a 100% company-funded pension scheme, which is quite unique and not with all employers in Germany the case. And it is applicable for all our employees who have an unlimited contract. And other than that, of course, there are multiple other benefits. I just want to mention Jobrat, which is a tax-privileged lease of bicycle, but I also want to highlight the supplement of nursing of sick children. So this is also quite unique. I have not seen it in other companies before. So every employee is entitled to continuous salary pay up to 4 days per event of a sickness of their child. And so they get paid 100%. Last but not least, I also want to mention some benefits that also include our students. So, for example, we offer support for public transport. We have urban sports club, definitely mental health support, and of course also the hybrid work model.
These are great benefits. How important do you think these are for employee motivation and satisfaction?
Salary and benefits, of course, are very important. I mean, many colleagues join us because they can learn a lot and that they can develop a lot. And I think that's what they even ask for in the first place, development opportunities, learning opportunities. But at the same time, we want to be market relevant with our benefits and our compensation package. And we feel that we are maybe even a bit ahead sometimes. So we really make regular analysis how we are positioned in the market, and we feel comfortable that with the benefits and the compensation package we have, we are competitive and relevant in the market. So we think we have a balanced overall attractive package together with the learning opportunities.
For those people who are attracted now, what does the typical application process look like for you?
We have developed a new standardized application process, a new improved one, and we hope that gives every candidate an improved experience. Every candidate will have a dedicated contact person, and that helps both sides, that helps to build trust. And we focus really on being consistent. We follow the same process around the globe. Every candidate gets the same experience wherever they are, whoever they are. And we feel that as a multinational company, diversity, equity, inclusion is essential to us. So we really want everyone to have the same opportunity. So succeed no matter your background, no matter your age, your location, and so on. And that is also represented in our employer branding tagline, which means you're at the heart of it. So we really want to give you a great experience when it comes to our recruiting process. They're very nice people along this process that you will meet with, so don't worry. And no matter what the outcome, even if in the end it will not result in an offer, you should have a great experience as a candidate. That's our ultimate goal.
And how long does the selection process usually take, you would say?
We aim to fill our job openings as soon as possible, for sure. We understand how important it is for candidates to stay informed, so we do our best to keep them updated with where they are in the selection process. But there are also some niche roles with special knowledge or requirements which may take longer. After a candidate has submitted their application, we will have a look at the profile. So with we, I mean our talent acquisition specialist. So a real human being is checking and screening the profile, and we'll have, for example, an initial phone screening with you. Then in the usual case, we have 2 interviews. So the first interview mainly and as a video conference call, and most likely the second interview is preferred to take place in person so that you get to know the location, but also your hiring manager and maybe even some team members, of course. In best case, then the next step is the offer stage. And here in Germany, when it comes to the contract creation, we also, of course, need to involve the works councils to ask for their approval before we can go on for the signing process. When you apply at DNV during your journey as an applicant, we would recommend that you upload your university diplomas or transcripts or visa documents, etc., so that we do not have a delay at the end when it comes to the contract creation.
That's really interesting. So we already talked about the application process steps. What does your onboarding process look like once someone does get that confirmation?
After the candidate signs the contract, they immediately get access to our pre-boarding platform, which is our welcome site. So that means they have access to multiple information and get a little bit more detail about DNV from in between their transition period from their old employer until they become a new joiner at DNV. So they get information about the business areas, our purpose, our visions, our values, our office locations, etc. They also can get in touch with their future line manager via this tool, but of course also they can get in direct contact. And via this pre-boarding platform, the new starter will be guided through their 12 weeks onboarding journey as well. So it's not just a pre-boarding site, but also when they start at DNV, it's also used for the onboarding. And of course, when it comes to the first day, everyone wants to feel welcomed, valued, and secure. As a new joiner, when you start, of course, you also have to do some mandatory trainings, and definitely your department has department-related onboarding sessions with you, and you get assigned to a buddy so that you have help in the first days and weeks at DNV. And additionally, we also have a welcome to DNV virtual classroom training, which is 2 times 3 hours, where you get all the information you need to know to have a good start at DNV.
And what would you say are the most important skills you guys look for in applicants?
As we are a global organization, of course, we are looking for persons with an international mindset. Diversity is very important to us, as we highlighted already. And yeah, the person should feel aligned with our values, visions, and our purpose, of course. So, in fact, and in conclusion, I think it's about the technical, but also the cultural fit.
And how do you think people can best prepare for an interview?
The talent acquisition specialist will reach out to the candidate and also let the candidate know what will be the focus of the interview. So, based on that, the candidate knows how to prepare. For example, if the interview is about more technical questions, or if the interview is more about more personal aspects, or is there maybe even a case study involved, etc. So I think the task will handle everything really well together with the candidate, and I think the candidate should really use the task as their go-to person. So if they have any questions, they should reach out to the task and ask the questions. I think what's really important is that a candidate should be authentic and just be themselves. On the other end of the table, of course, there are also some humans, and we as a company, we have clear expectations, but I think it's also very important that the candidate is clear on which job expectations they have, or in which work environment they want to work, so that we can find out if there is a really good fit for both of the parties. And don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid is a good point.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Also, a good advice you can give to applicants who are interested in a career with you. So you said don't be afraid. What other advice would you give to applicants who are interested in a career?
I recommend candidates to follow us on LinkedIn to stay informed about DNV. And if you want, of course, also follow our hashtag live at DNV, where our DNV colleagues share their stories and highlight what they are working on, etc. So it really gives a good insight and good view of how it really is to work at DNV.
Thank you for that insight. Lastly, could you guys give us 2 to 3 reasons why people should apply to your company?
Yes, absolutely. For me, the key reason is that you are doing meaningful work here. You work here to safeguard life, property, the environment, and you have a good reason and a good purpose to get up every morning to get to work.
Yeah, and also to summarize what we have talked about already, at DNV, I believe you can build a career. So we have so many experts from which you can learn, And as we also mentioned in the career opportunities you have at DNV, there are multiple options for you to have a really long employee life cycle. I think it's also beneficial to be with DNV not only for 2 to 3 years, of course, that's possible. And maybe we also have boomerang employees who come back to us. But definitely being with DNV for a longer period is the best experience you can get. And last but not least, of course, we also have fun at our work and with the interaction in the office or at different events. So I think also a good aspect why people should come here is we are really friendly and really open-minded, and we like to work with each other.
That's a very good point, Jenny. I like that. I can only emphasize that it's really fun. It's really nice working environment, meeting the colleagues every day.
Thank you guys so much for that. And thank you for today's interview.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. For more information about today's podcast guest, be sure to check the podcast description.